Welcome to the Author Studio at Book Expo America 2013 in New York City. We are sitting with author Lynn Salsi. Lynn, hello.
Hi, how are you doing?
Nice to have you here. She is a very prolific author. 20 books written, all sorts of content, adult, young adult, children's. You've written a picture book most recently.
Exactly.
And
the
it's
second
called
one.
Jack and the Giants.
Jack and the Giant.
If you want to hold that up and let everybody see what it looks like.
I can hold the cover up.
Yeah.
So Jack and the Giant, and we also have the audio that we're introducing at the show as well.
This is a story, Jack and the Giant Killer, Jack and the Giant Slayer, however you want to say it, that has been around for years and years and years. You have written a variant of the story. Well, what is your angle on the story?
My angle is that I am an Appalachian scholar and that I have done a great deal of study, particularly with Jack Tales and the Hicks, Ward, and Harmon families from Appalachia that are recognized by the Smithsonian and the Library of Congress. So after an intense study of 7 years with the family, I've taken various stories and created variants because they're very important in core curriculum. We need to have more information in schools about American heritage and American folklore. And a lot of people think that Pecos Bill and Paul Bunyan and Johnny Appleseed, I guess Johnny Appleseed's pretty American, and as are the others, but they're considered fake lore rather than folklore. The folklore is origins date way back, is we like to think to the beginning of a time because they contain so much mythology.
Why did you pick this particular type of folklore?
Well, because
I'm
particularly interested in Appalachian folklore and have been since the age of 10. And I was very familiar with the Hicks, Harmon, and Ward families that are ascribed to having preserved these stories through generation after generation since the 1700s. They lived very close and on the same land, and they're an example of the family that passed the stories on to generations.
Now, Lynn, your particular Jack has something called a whomping stick.
He has a whomping stick.
What is a whomping stick?
Whomping stick is one of those things you go whomp.
You whomp people with it, huh?
Yeah, and you generally carve it with your little whittling knife.
So he's created his own whomping stick.
He's created his own whomping stick.
He used it for his own protection.
Well, sort of protection, but he liked to just see what he could do with it. Because he might walk through the woods and just go whomp with the stick and knock a branch down off of a tree.
Is it a magical whomping stick?
Well, it becomes fairly magical because it does attract giants.
I don't know if I want to carry around a whomping stick that attracts giants. It has to be magic
if it attracts giants.
All right, so you could say he's a bit of a brute, but really he's very, very clever also, isn't he?
He's actually thinks quick on his feet.
Okay.
He's quick on his feet, and in terms of education, it's called critical thinking. So he's an early critical thinker.
All right, how does that work in the story?
Well, when he comes up upon giants that have 2 heads, and then giant twin brothers that have 3 heads apiece.
That's a lot of whomping.
That's a lot of whomping, and he doesn't really have to whomp them. He does little tricky things with his whomping stick, and he actually makes them beat up on each other. It's quite funny.
Now, all right, well, let's talk about that. What is funny? What is the plot? I mean, he doesn't just go around whomping
Well, he goes out
giants,
seeking his fortune. Who doesn't go out seeking their fortune? So he's the young man out in the world seeking his fortune to make his lot better in life. And he comes upon the toughest job that anyone could come upon, and that is to get giants off the land. The land is infested with giants.
How did those giants get on the land?
And nobody knows that.
So
that's the land of the farmer.
The land of the farmer?
The land of the farmer, which is also near where Jack lived with his mother before he set off to go on this mission.
All right, so what inspired you to write this particular story?
Well, what would not be inspiring with a cycle that dates back to the 1200s and actually in Cornwall, England. And I journeyed there several years ago because I wanted to go to the site where Jack slayed the first giant and became known as Jack the Giant Killer, although he didn't really physically kill the giant. He blew his horn, he aggravated the giant. The giant woke up, ran down the mountain, and fell. And when the giant fell, for some reason Jack became known as Jack the Giant Killer, and he was highly celebrated in literary tomes in England for many years, and then he became Jack and the Beanstalk Jack.
Your particular Jack, what age, your particular book I should say, what age are you targeting with the book?
Generally from 1st grade through 4th grade. And it hits the upper end of 4th grade because it contains so much rich American mythology. And a lot of people don't think of America as a land of myths. We think of the Roman myths and the Greek myths and the Norse myths. But we are a land of great myths because there are questions about how did things get here, how did things come to be, and mythology explains that.
Now, it is a picture book.
This one is a picture book.
And who is the illustrator?
The illustrator is James Young.
And the collaboration, now these days, a lot of collaboration is done long distance.
No, actually,
did you and he
he's
sit in the
done.
same room?
No, we didn't sit in the same room,
Okay.
but we do collaborate on this particular series. It'll eventually be 6 books. Right now, it's Jack and the Dragon and Jack and the Giants is the newest.
All right. She is Lynn Salsi. She's written a new book called Jack and the Giants. It is a picture book. Former Pulitzer Prize nominee.
Exactly.
And who knows what awards will come from Jack and the Giants. We
We've
wish you a
had
lot of
some
luck.
great ones from
Yeah.
this already. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lynn.